A good evening and a warm welcome to the viewers from all over the world. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, the CEO's Chair is a unique program where we showcase inspiring stories of successful CEOs. We give you an insight into their mindset and discuss not only their challenges, but also help you understand their definitions of success and leadership. Today is our 46th episode, and we have another such inspiring story with us, Zeenal Doshi, founder of The Flapper Life. Zeenal, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Siddharth, for inviting. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you, Zeenal. So Zeenal, a few lines of introduction for you, although I'm sure that a lot of the members in the audience already know who you are and what you've done. But you spent over a decade as a banker with Citibank India, and you were heading their marketing and sales teams. And then in June of 2016, you decided to take the plunge and become an entrepreneur. So I think that is going to be a great jump off point for us, Zeenal. What was there a specific catalyst moment that that prompted you to take the jump and become an entrepreneur of your own?
So I would say, so it has definitely a background to this. So obviously, when you are in a corporate life, you tend to go onto your team outings. You do these team trips, and I used to organize those trips for my teams, which would be as large as 100 people or 200 people. And, every time I planned a trip or we organized a trip, I would always see a hesitance among women, that little bit of the initials to say yes or a no to a trip, maybe because family pressure, or it could be whether I really can make it or I cannot make it, so that hesitance was always there.
Okay.
And then once they are convinced to kind of get back and say, okay, I'm coming for the trip, they would be the ones who would enjoy the trip thoroughly. Okay. And they would just make the most of it. So probably I would say that it was a thought which I had it for many years, but I took some time to kind of, develop it. And one day when I just thought that, okay, I really need to bring that change and create a platform for women where they could travel safely without even a thought or a hesitation that, okay, should I do this or should I not? So that's how it has come. So maybe it was always there in my subconscious mind, but yeah, it just took me that one day to just decide and do this. So it was always there as a thought of doing it. But, I think in your corporate life, you come to a point where you feel there is a monotony and it just pushes you to get out of your comfort zone. So maybe that was the moment for me.
No, and I can totally relate to that, because sometimes working in the corporate world, you do take a long time to take such a big decision for yourself. And on the other hand, sometimes it's just an overnight decision where you say, listen, I'm going to follow my passion and do what I want for the rest of my life.
That's right. So I think both happened to me, that it was an absolute instant decision that, okay, I don't want to do this further and I want to go ahead and do this, do create a platform for women to travel. But as I said, that it was a thought because obviously I'm very passionate about traveling and creating a platform where I didn't want them to even have a thought of safety or self-judgment, which many a times women face. So yeah, we will probably talk about that, later.
We will. To also start with, I wanted to get a sense of what it was like. I mean, you spent over a decade being a banker at one of the premium banks in India, which is Citibank.
Right.
So just probably maybe your top 2 or 3 learnings of doing business in India and leading sales and marketing teams for an international and a global bank like that.
So my experience has been amazing. I'm telling you, I just have my best of memories, best of learnings, all from Citi, of course. And it's always that, which is your first bank. It's your first experience about working. And I have been there for 13 and a half years. So I have so many memories and learnings. So to kind of name one or two, it would be very, very difficult. But what I have constantly learned in Citi is that one, always have your groundwork strong. So put your foundation really strong in anything that you do, whether you're just working on a project, whether it's a role. And I have applied that to my entrepreneurship also. that your base work has to be really strong, irrespective of how much ever time you take to build that on. So that is one learning. And second learning, I would say this is especially for the leadership roles or managerial roles, that many times we get a little selfish that, oh, I have to grow and I have to move on from here. Irrespective, not thinking about the team. Many times it happens, we get a little selfish in our professional career. But I would always say that if your team is growing and if you're talking and growing together, your growth is natural, that it will automatically happen. You really don't need to think it in that strategic move. So that is the second learning what I have. And I always believe in investing my people rather than just investing in myself.
Okay.
To grow. Yeah.
No, I think those are some great takeaways, Zeenal. When we talk about leaving the security, and we were discussing it just before, a couple of minutes before we went live,
Right.
leaving the security of a monthly paycheck and leaving the security of a well-known global brand to start something of your own can be a very daunting process. How easy or how difficult was the transition for you? So it's a two-part question. One is how easy or how difficult the transition was for you, and was there something, or what were the things that you did to plan ahead of time?
So it was definitely not easy,
Okay.
because you come from a very, very strong brand into, I would say it is one of the best brand into banking industry. So it is always that you carry with yourself, wherever you go, that, hey, you're working from Citi or you're working with Citi. And when you try to create something on your own, obviously people don't know you. People don't believe you. People don't trust you because they really don't know what you exactly have it in your mind.
Correct.
So of course the transition was, I would say, difficult, but
Okay.
it was not something which I would say impossible, because branding is also more about you develop it over the years. It can't just happen overnight for you. So as far as preparations are concerned, I would say that I didn't want to prepare for it, because coming from a workaholic background, or probably I was workaholic, my first thought when I wanted to do this transition was that I don't want to sit idle even for a day. I have to just get into my work mode.
Okay.
And I believe that when you're doing an entrepreneurship, if you start thinking about whether it's going to be a financial backup, or whether it's about getting things right initially, I don't think you will ever start. Okay, because you will always be into that security mode, that okay, I need to get these things right and then I would do. I think you would never start then. So for me, it was very important that my idea behind starting Flap Alive, I was very strong about that. And I was like, okay, I'm going to learn it on the way and I'm going to give my best shot. And then we will see how the path flows in, or how I kind of get on the path. So I feel that preparation was not, probably I didn't want to get into it.
Okay. So which for me is very surprising, because, and I'll tell you why, because one is, from what I can tell and from what you described of yourself, you come across as somebody who's extremely attentive to details, right? As a banker, you have to be.
Yes.
And I'm sure you were involved in meticulous planning, not just in your own career, but in the career of others.
That's
so
right.
To take almost a leap of faith on what you wanted to do is extremely surprising for me, and which is great, and which a lot of people talk about. But it's actually brilliant to see somebody who's gone through with that. But that being said, Zeenal, I think a lot of the younger generation, and a lot of the people that watch the show are also, I would say, probably in their teens or in their early 20s, and some of them actually think of starting up as a better career alternative rather than working for an organization. So if some of them want to start their own business, what is probably one or two things that they should do, which you, looking back and hindsight, did not do before starting their own business?
Right. So, because you spoke about, preparing, obviously hindsight, if you see, I would want to change, many things. Like, okay, everybody thinks that as an entrepreneur, when I look back, I would want to do, maybe financially right, or maybe my marketing should have been okay, because we all want perfection,
Of
right?
course.
So the wish list would just grow, I would say. But
True.
what I'm proud of, that all the mistakes I made during the journey, which I didn't prepare for, and the failures which I went through, I
Okay.
think today, while talking to you or coming so far, I'm very proud of those failures, because I wouldn't have learned it right. But to kind of say this to especially younger generation who have not even worked, it is just to tell them that it is not about that, okay, every failure is going to be like very rosy, and you really need to have a resilience to it. You
Of course.
really need to have an experience to it to kind of deal with it. So I would say that whatever you do, you need to have your groundwork very, very strong. You need to be extremely positive. You should actually know what you're getting into. It is not a rosy picture at all. It is not about that, oh, I'm going to have a cool startup and I'm going to make my own money and I'm going to really travel the world. That's what people think.
Of course.
But because I had an experience to deal with larger teams or with larger crisis earlier, I could kind of say that, okay, I want to begin with. So I would say always have an experience
Okay.
working first and then make your startup. Keep preparing for it rather than planning. Prepare for it is what I would say.
Great. No, I think that's great advice for anybody looking to start up. Another thing that I would also like for you to elaborate a little bit on, and we talked about this briefly offline, when you lose the security of a corporate role, a corporate responsibility, or a designation, the people around you, whether they are your friends, your acquaintances, family, well-wishers, some of them, I mean, it's human nature, the way that they start interacting with you changes.
That's right.
What did you notice in your career transition from being a career, and I would like to use the word high flyer, because you were a VP with Citibank, which is no mean feat, to becoming an entrepreneur? What kind of transition did you see, and what advice would you give for somebody with how to manage that network and those relationships?
So, irrespective at whatever stage you are when you're quitting a corporate life, I would say that whenever you're making that transition, there would be a lot of judgments and there would be a lot of doubts that, okay, whether you're going to make it or not.
Of
Okay.
course.
And of course, you also have a set of people who would always be the cheerleaders for you that, okay, you're going to make it because they really know you. They've worked with you very closely. They know that you're not going to kind of give up onto an idea or so. And they probably help you also in terms of supporting, spreading the word.
Correct.
So, but I feel that it's very important to kind of build the right connections, the right network. Uh, uh, I feel that networking should never be overdone
Okay.
and never should be underdone. You should really know who you want into your proximity and whose proximity you want to really be on. Because when you're into an entrepreneurship journey, it's going to be initially, of course, it's going to be a lot of hardships. So you really need the right set of positive people around you who would keep you sane, positive, and who would also probably help you and guide you in some point of time.
Of course.
So it is difficult to maintain. It is not easy. But yeah, as I said, that you really need to have, I would say, the right inner circle who you trust and they trust you for what you have been wanting to do.
Okay. No, I think that's a great analogy, that you really need to, if anything, make your circle even smaller and only have those few trusted people that whose opinions matter and whose judgments matter to you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So coming back to things not being very rosy, first I wanted to start with the Flapper Life. Where did the name originate from? Where did the concept start from?
So I must say this, that every person I interact or, this is one standard question which always comes up, that where did the name come from? And we get complimented by a lot of customers that we really love the name. It is not like a regular name. So
True.
There is a lot of research which has gone into this. I would say 200 names filtered out.
Wow.
And then kind of got into this because it literally took me 2 months to get to this name.
Okay.
And it was not easy. But when I came across with, after doing a lot of research to this name, I think the word flapper, it kind of resonates with liberation,
Okay.
resonates with freedom and being independent. And that is exactly what it resonated with the concept of the company. Okay, so there are a lot of interpretations online about the word flapper.
Correct.
But when I really wanted to create this, I wanted that liberating, free, independent platform for women. And that's
Okay.
how this word came into, the name of the venture came into existence, that we really wanted to create that. We wanted to empower women through travel. So yeah, that's the story on the word Flapper Life.
No, and I love the fact that you're talking about freedom and independence. And I know that the word became popular during the 1820s, I believe,
Yes.
during the Great Recession, when everybody was just going out and saying, "Listen, we don't know how long it's going to last, so we might as well kind of live it up and literally live our life to the best."
That's right. Yeah.
So
That's right.
it's 100 years since the 1820s, and we are since the 1920s, and now we are in the 2020s. So I'm
Yes.
sure the Flapper Life is also going to lead a revival of that entire freedom and independent spirit as well.
Absolutely. Yes.
So building a community, and you've been at it since 2016.
Right.
If you can, one, we'll talk about, of course, the entire global pandemic and everything else that happened. How easy, and like you said, you were establishing a brand name, you were competing with more well-known brand names.
That's right.
What did you have to do differently, let's say in the last 6 to 8 months, just because of the way things panned out? How was 2020 for you and Flapper Life, Zina?
So,
I know you can probably talk about this for days.
Yeah, undoubtedly, this was the worst year, I would
Okay.
say, and the worst experience for anybody into tourism. Okay,
True.
so because it's not about, there were industries which were at least doing some bit online. We didn't even have that opportunity that we could even do something about it, where our business would even run even 10% of it, right?
Okay.
So it was definitely a big setback. I would say that when I got the initial sense of that, okay, there's going to be a lockdown, I was literally on a denial mode to accept the fact that, okay, something like this is going to happen. And, you're going to be completely shut out. Because, as an entrepreneur, obviously it takes time for you to, get into that break-even point,
Of
start
course.
earning. And, that was the moment where we were looking at our trips were all booked till September. So you can
Wow.
imagine how it would have been, where the money was paid, everything was all set. And then you get a setback that, okay, nothing is going to happen. Absolutely nothing. So initially, of course, for a few days, I was in a denial mode.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, working from home is not normal for any one of us, right?
Correct.
Because we don't know how to work from home. And so to kind of set up team to get into that zone of daily routine,
Of
or
course.
daily motivated routine, I would say, that to kind of be there and just stay and hang in there. That is
Mm-hmm.
very difficult. So, but I kind of realized it that uh, it is very important. The work that I have done for 4 years to build a brand wherever we are in our journey,
Correct.
I can't let the brand suffer. That's for sure. So it is very important that the brand name, the brand Flapper Life, which is created with so much of hard work and passion,
Mm-hmm.
continues to grow and flourish. So we then started evolving ourselves. So probably I got time to kind of do things which I didn't get earlier. And we literally evolved in every way, technically, in terms of your marketing. And we did a lot of different kind of campaigns, which we always wanted to do.
Okay.
So we started doing that in social media because that was the only way for us to do it. And today, I can proudly say that, yeah, we are an evolved company. So whether it's about surviving 2020, I would say we thrived 2020, and we are kind of now in 2021 with complete excitement. As I said earlier when we were offline, that it's now about just implementing and executing everything that we've planned. And we are really looking forward and excited to to kind of welcome women, travel with them, and just give them that freedom to just be what they want to be, and live every dream of theirs.
No, very nice, Zinal, and I'm great to see that the enthusiasm and the interest is also coming back. And I know it couldn't have been easy having all of those conversations with all of those clients that had pre-booked, and not just on the client side, but also on the so-called vendor and the stay side,
Yes,
where
that's right.
I mean, everybody had as much or as little information as the other person.
That's right. Yeah.
You are in the hospitality industry, you're in the travel and tourism industry, which is one of the, I would probably say, since I've been a part of it as well, one of the most physically as well as mentally draining, because you're
Yes.
constantly in touch and interacting with people, whether it is in person or virtually.
Right.
I know that a lot of your skills probably over the years as a banker were built up, and you found it a easier task than most. But what is it that is important when you're interacting with people or when you're interacting with your clients on a daily basis? What is it that they're looking for? What is the kind of expectation for customer experience or customer relationship that clients of today are looking for from a brand such as yours?
So, travel has really changed in last few years, and it is
Mhm.
constantly evolving.
Okay,
It is no longer a phase where people do family travel. People definitely do. I'm
correct.
talking more from the women's side of it. People definitely want to do the family travel, but they also want to do something on their own and just be there and live their dreams. So travel is constantly evolving. With that, your experiences are also evolving.
Correct.
So when you talk about a constant interaction with people, whether it's vendor or your clients or your team, the constant interaction has always been what is different that we are doing. One.
Okay.
And second is what is that value addition you're going to get, which the next company or the other company is not going to get. So for us, it's purely about experience
Mhm.
rather than, I would say that, luxury or luxury travel or a very comfortable travel. Because the reason why this was started, obviously, we all know that women travel is very important from a safety point of view,
Of
right?
course.
So we have to be extra cautious about it. So I always believe that if we are creating something for women, if she has to take a break, it should be that one of the best memories for her, because she's not going to repeat herself and she's not going to get that easy chance to come out of her comfort zone very often. So it
Very
better
true.
be good. It better be experiential. So I think because I come from a people management background, of course, it's easy to kind of to have those daily conversations with people and probably multiple of conversations on day-to-day basis. But I would say it's more on the value addition conversation where
Okay.
you're really making a difference. Yeah. So I hope that answers your question.
It does. And so there's actually a question from one of the audience members. They want to know which was your most memorable trip that you've taken to date.
Okay, so there are multiple. As
I'm
I would
sure.
always say this, that every time I have traveled with Flappers, I have learned something and I've come back. And
Okay.
there is always a very strong bond you kind of create. But yeah, the most memorable one would be, Bhutan, and it would be Ladakh, because it is very, very experiential. So I would just give you an experience what we had
Sure.
created for a client. And so this was our client's birthday, and we were traveling to Bhutan. Our clients very proudly tell us that it's our birthday, and and for their birthdays they have taken this trip,
Okay.
which is very nice and exciting. Women are taking trips on their birthdays to just kind of be away, and we had curated this very special experience right on the riverbank. We right on the riverbank, we created a bonfire. We
Okay.
got everything arranged. We got the cakes and we got music and everything arranged. And probably she had never even expected this, that we would do this. So for me, creating that experience, creating that happiness for her is more important than anything else. And these things are probably one of the best experiences you could give, and to feel good also, that to just have your birthday on a riverbank is, I think, one of the best experiences you can create for people. So yeah, I guess that is one of the most memorable trip for me. And otherwise, it is Ladakh, because Ladakh is a place, I would say it is literally a journey into life. So it is a place where you literally get into self-reflection mode, and there are so many people who go there just to kind of switch off and to see what they can do differently in life. When you're really seeking answers in life, that is a trip one should definitely take.
No, both of them sound like very memorable trips. Another question that I'm getting from the audience is, what is the smallest size of a vacation that you would book, and what is the largest that you would book as well? In number of attendees or participants or.
Okay. So we have done trips for even 2 people, and we've done it for, I would say, even 30.
Okay.
We believe in curating trips and keeping it smaller group size, because we believe that that is the best way to give experience, because too many people can also create issues.
Of course.
So we do anything between 5 to 10 as a regular trip. But if we have somebody and they are okay to kind of go only 2 people also, that is what we've done. And we've also managed a corporate client for 200 people. So we've done that as well. So yeah, so in a regular way, 5 to 10 people is our regular group size.
Okay. And are you typically restricting the travel to domestic only, or have you done international trips as well, or are there plans to do international trips?
So we proudly want to do only India, because we believe that there is a lot, and it is a place where people have, or probably women have not explored way too much. One, because of the safety issue, right? Because it becomes a little difficult in India. And a second thing is that we have definitely done a lot of trips in Asia. So we've done Bali, Bhutan, Sri Lanka. So we would, obviously, for the next 1 year, we definitely want to just focus India, and then probably other countries or other parts of Asia.
Okay, great. I'm also getting a question from Ibrahim, who wants to know that, is it better for a founder to be a specialist versus a generalist? Because I know that you come from the banking industry, and obviously you had a very finance heavy and a banking heavy focus, and then you completely switched industries to working in travel and tourism and hospitality. So what, in your opinion, is better?
So I don't think becoming a specialist or to even get into entrepreneurship in a particular industry, because I have done that. I'm not a specialist in tourism at all. Like I have literally, I'm not from that background. I was not even a traveler per se that way when I moved and when I switched. So, but I would say that whenever you're shifting or whenever you're making that switch, it is very important to get your foundation and to get the right idea that what you really want to create. So I think that focus is very, very important when you're getting into. So when we were also switching, a lot of people ask us that why not family travels or why not mixed groups? But we were always very clear that we wanted to create a difference. We wanted to create a platform just for women. And trust me, we literally reject business. So because we don't
Which
want
can't be easy for a startup.
Yeah, it is. It is not. And of course, there are references which we definitely take when it comes to family travel. But we every day get, and we are very clear that no, we are here to make a difference. We are not here to just do a regular business. So keeping your thought process and keeping your base idea, like your market research, very, very strong, I think you will learn on it on your way. There will be a lot of things which you would kind of learn on the journey. So that's how it should be.
So picking your niche is probably one of the most important things that you need to do as an entrepreneur.
Yes, that's right.
In entrepreneurship, and you've done a great job of picking your niche, one of the other things that you need to do as an entrepreneur, especially in a business like yours, is build a community around your product as well.
That's right.
And you mentioned that you had run a lot of campaigns that you previously had not run. What else have you done over the past couple of years, or let's say the past couple of months, to build a stronger community of women who would love to travel together and share their own experiences on social media and so on?
That's right. So I think thank you for this question because we have actually done a lot of things. So the first thing, we always believe in kind of keeping the group very close to us and constantly telling them what exactly we are doing.
Okay.
Even if a trip does not happen, we tell our people trip is not happening for whatever, we are not getting enough of people. So transparency is one, how we kind of keep things intact with our community. Second, we are also doing a constant thing, like to specifically talk about 2020. We were evolving with things like doing workshops, online
Okay.
workshops, where we obviously everybody knew that we needed that some time to unwind. So we were doing these online workshops for people. We were doing things which we're doing offline also, like having a travel story online Zoom call where we're just talking about travel, we're just talking about stories, adventure. We also got into where we would show you India in say local way, because I think
Okay.
nobody can show you the world the way a local shows you. So we did a
Exactly.
series with locals where we got people from all 29 states, a local person to do an Instagram live with us. It spread it across 25 episodes,
That's amazing.
and they spoke about everything which probably you would not know if I had to kind of talk about a particular place.
Of
So
course.
because we believe into that, and then we also promoted a lot of sustainable projects, because
Okay.
Flapper Life, we are into immersive travel and sustainable travel.
Mhm.
And obviously COVID was one of a very big reason for us to reflect back. We all know that what global warming really means now. So
True.
we promoted a lot of sustainable projects also, and making that awareness among our community that this is the change what we need to bring in. And we've got a lot of support that, okay, I think we want to make this change together, we want to volunteer for it. So a constant engagement, and talking not only about travel but different aspects of travel, has that probably got us very very strong with our community.
Mhm. No, and I think that that's great to hear because it's and we everybody talks about engagement, right? Whether it's
Right.
online engagement or offline engagement, and keeping your fan club and keeping your audience and your community engaged is extremely important.
Yes.
Moving forward, coming down to the last couple of questions, what can we expect from Zenal and what can we expect from the Flapper Life moving forward? What does the future look like?
Okay, future definitely looks bright. Keeping, what we have gone through in 2020, probably no one ever thought that what we were getting into and we would experience something like this. But
Hmm.
yeah, now we've become more stronger when it comes to, tourism, like completely disrupted in 2020. So I think we all have come out stronger. So
Okay,
2021 definitely looks brighter
great.
for Flapper Life and for Zenal. I think there's no difference between Zenal and Flapper Life when it
They're
comes to
one.
plans. They are one, absolutely one. But there is one thing which we definitely want to make a difference now is that,
Mhm.
there are different kind of women travelers. So there are one who have been constantly traveling, and there are one who wants to take the plunge and they
Okay,
just need a little confidence boost, which we are currently doing. And the third type is where they are probably on the rural side, they're doing amazing work, but probably they don't have the right platform. So whether it's a local business or whether it's any kind of women who are related into tourism, we
hmm,
want to now kind of help them to come on mainstream through
okay,
Flapper Life. So
okay.
that is probably what we want to do now. And yeah, now we are more stronger than what we were earlier. So we definitely are looking at making a larger audience difference when it comes to India and women travel trends. So yeah, it looks very exciting, and that's new for Zenal and Flapper Life both.
No, that's great to hear. And I'm sure it's only the start because like they say, whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So just the
Absolutely,
fact that we've managed to live through 2020 says a lot.
that's right.
Zinal, you had also mentioned something about a new initiative, as if you don't have enough going on, called She in Tourism.
Yes, that's right.
Is that associated with all the work that you're doing as well?
Yes. So definitely, I think Sheen Tourism also came up in 2020.
Okay.
In pandemic, four different women from different countries coming
Okay.
together.
Okay.
And we've launched this company purely virtually. We have never met each other. I think
Okay.
that is also pretty interesting. So of course it is in tourism industry, and this is more at the Asian platform,
Okay.
where we want to really create a difference and create a platform for Asian women in tourism. This is first of its kind. It is never, there's no platform as such.
Mhm.
And obviously the major focus areas is going to be leadership, skill development, leaderships, and
Okay.
gender parity. So which we want to create a difference on. So it is tourism centric, of course, but we want to touch upon the multiple areas where we can help women to kind of elevate and grow from here. So
Very
yeah.
nice. I have a question from Roma as well. Do you
Okay.
have any advice for somebody who's not a frequent women traveler?
Who is not a frequent women traveler?
Yeah.
I think it's a great question, and I would really urge most of the women that you have to take a break for yourself,
Mm-hmm.
just for yourself, not your family, not your kid, purely for self care. Do that, because I think self care is a very, very important aspect in anybody's life, whether
True.
it's not only for women, but of course, it is because she can't take a break very easily.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, you must push yourself as a mandatory piece in your life every single year to take that break. So people generally talk about resolutions every year to kind of take. I think you should take a resolution about taking a self-care break for myself. So I hope that answers her question. But it is really important, and trust me, obviously women, we all know, are emotionally stronger,
Of course.
in both the genders, and we kind of take care of home, work, and we do those things passionately. If you take a break for yourself, you will be able to and continue to do these things even with more passion, with more emotions, I would say, and make things happier for yourself and make things happier for your family and work also.
No, I think that pretty much answers her question. And the last question for you from my end, Zinal, would be that if you had two pieces of advice to give to five, let's say, the Zinal that we knew 5 years ago, when you were just starting out, or somebody who's starting their business for the first time, what would those two pieces of advice be?
Okay. So the first advice would be never lose your confidence
Okay.
ever, because obviously in your entrepreneurship you would come where there would be a lot of self-doubt, whether
True.
you're doing it right, or whether this would kind of fit in, whether your thoughts would fit in into the world what you're trying to create. So never lose your confidence. That's very, very important. Also, when you're growing, a lot of people kind of try to bring you down with with whatever that could be in terms of professionally, personally. So keeping confidence on what your thought process is very important. Second, which I have also always believed in my city life also, never ever give up on your idea. Never
Okay.
give up. I think if you're believing into what you want to make a difference to, you should not give up, because in entrepreneurship or in multiple jobs also, there will be a moments where you just want to give up and switch over, or you want to try something new. I would say never do that. Give your best till the last minute. If it does not happen, it is definitely a great learning for you.
Okay.
Yeah, and probably the third advice, which I always say this, that it's okay to fail. It's absolutely fine to fail. Just that you got to learn and move on. Not cry over it, or not say that, okay, why me? Uh, don't play the why me card at all. But yeah, it's absolutely fine to fail, because I see a lot of people, they can't take failures very easily.
Of
Initially,
course.
even I could not take it, because coming from a very flamboyant, branded work, you would always be like, okay, this is going to be easy and I'm going to really do it. And entrepreneurship is not so easy like the way you take it. So initially, of course, I had this, but then probably I started taking those failures and started evolving myself into it. So yeah,
Okay.
that is the advice I would give.
No, I think, and that's great advice, because it's obviously struck a chord with one of our audience members. And she asked that when was the last time that you failed, and how did you deal with that? How did you deal with failure?
Okay, so I have a very funny answer. You fail every day.
Okay.
So in the sense that there are so many thoughts, there are so many things you want to do. It maybe discipline, punctuality. You want execution at the right time, and it does not happen. And you fail. You make financial mistakes also during your journey. So I would say there are a lot of failures. I would not want to pick a particular failure, but yeah, failures is part and parcel. Uh, and I think the only way to look at it is that you make a learning and you ensure that you never make this mistake again. But just kind of tweak that for yourself and just see how it fits into your journey and move on from there.
Great. I think that's a great point for us to end on, that failure is not final. And
Yes.
Whatever mistakes you make sure that there are new mistakes and you're not repeating the same mistakes again and again.
Right. That's
Zinal,
right.
it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you and learning more about your experiences and your journey. And I wish you and Flapper Life nothing but continued success in the future.
Thank you so much, Siddharth. I think it has been an amazing chat with you. And I am really happy to share my thoughts and my journey so far. So thank you for inviting me. And I think it has been amazing.
Thank you, Zinal. Wishing you the best. And hopefully I look forward to meeting you in person next time I'm in Mumbai.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Zinal. Take care.
Thanks.